Hey there, how there, ho there, Chef Cutter Diamond. Welcome you to yet another classic soccer video, and we are going to be doing a very special event for USA 250, as it is today, 4th of July. We are going to be doing a special classic soccer knockout tournament between all 11 USA squads that made the World Cup. Of course, we know 2026 they also did, but that season obviously has not been released yet. It'll probably be like October, November at the earliest. Nevertheless, we have all these USA teams that made the World Cup and all that. I didn't have to look any of them up because I knew. 1930, the first ever World Cup, they were part of it. Well, they had an easy ride because it was in South America and they were in North America, where, they didn't have to go through the steamship route of the Europeans. So the Americans they got in the Final Four, which was amazing. 1934, they actually played Mexico in Italy, but that wasn't in the not that was for a spot in the World Cup, and then 3 days later they played the Italians and lost that game 7-1. A future NFLer by the name of Buff Denali had that goal. In 1950, the Americans were in the same group as England and shocked them 1-0. So badly was their coverage. There was only one American reporter there, and England was erroneously reported to win either by 10-0 or 10-1. But the 1950 Americans won. They didn't win the group, but they beat England. Well, England, that was their first World Cup after coming to FIFA census. And then the Americans had a 40-year drought. That was the big story because remember when the U.S. beat Trinidad and Tobago on the final day of CONCACAF or North American qualifying, and they did it? Well, the Americans kind of have to thank Mexico because Mexico got expelled from the 1990 qualifying for overage players at a youth tournament. And Costa Rica shocked everyone by doing well in the World Cup, especially being Scotland. But it is Scotland. So the Americans got that second spot from CONCACAF, which was big. They went to the World Cup and got their butts handed to them by Austria, Czech Republic, and was it Italy? I can't remember. I think it was Italy they had to deal with. 1994, they got to host the World Cup with the promise that they had to do a, a league. Yep, they had to promise to set up a league to support soccer, and Major League Soccer was around 96. But the Americans got it. They put the games in football stadiums. Well, of course, American football stadiums if you're from Europe. Like the Pontiac Silverdome, the Cotton Bowl, the Citrus Bowl, and the Rose Bowl stadiums. The Americans did okay. They got to the knockout stages thanks to their win over Colombia, thanks to Andres Escobar's own goal, which wasn't the game-winning goal. It was the first one, but not the second one. But unfortunately, that ruined things for America. And then, of course, yeah, they went 1-1. On the 4th of July, they took on Brazil in the knockout stages, but Brazil beat them, and Leonardo broke Tab Ramos's face. 1998, they went into the World Cup. They had to face Iran. They got drawn with Iran. They lost to them, and they were embarrassingly 32nd out of 32 teams. In 2002, they got a measure of revenge. They actually beat Portugal, who are a top 10 team, by a score of 3-2, which was a shock. They shocked Mexico in the round of 16, got to the quarters, lost to Germany, but still, that was great. 2006, they were in with Italy, Ghana, and the Czechs, and couldn't do much with them. Although yeah, they did get Daniel De Rossi of Italy suspended for 4 games because of an injury thing. 2010, the Americans were in the same group as Algeria, Slovenia, yeah, don't laugh, and England. The U.S. famously tied England 1-1 thanks to a Robert Green goalie gaff for the English. The ball scooting underneath of them. The Americans would take on Ghana and lose to those guys in the round 16. And then in 2014, the Americans did well. They actually did they beat Portugal or tie them? They actually had a shock result against Portugal and ruined their chances. They got to face Belgium in the knockout stages and lost 2-1. They didn't qualify for 2018. In 2022, they did. They took on England, and again, it was a dreadful tie for the English. The Americans did qualify second in the group, right? Right. And lost to the Dutch. But anyway, yeah, these 11 teams. So what I think is happening is 5 of the 11 teams are going to be drawn into the quarterfinals, and then there will be 3 matchups, if I remember right. There we go. USA. Yeah, so there's three preliminary rounds. So the rules I'm gonna make are the 10-year rule. That means that the the matchups are of teams 10 years onwards. The first team is the 1998 team, and they play the 2002 Americans, but they'll be switched over. 2010 U.S. take on 1930 U.S. So we're gonna swap. We can swap. So the 2010 team will play 2002 because I don't. Oh no, sorry, they can't though. No, no, it would have to be the other way around. Well, yeah, that's right. I can't switch 98 and 2010 because 98 or 2010, that's 8 years. 2014, 1934. But I have no shot, but I have no choice, right? Actually, I do have a choice. I could swap 14 and 10 because that's 68-year gap, 12-year gap, and massive gap. Okay, so that's fine. So the prelim, we're gonna we're going to we're gonna auto play each round. First round, the 2014 and the 2002 squads tied 0-0. A report says that highlights, no highlights. That's a The 2014 squad had one shot on target. The 2002 squad had two, with Tim Howard and Brad Friedel being the goalies. Yedlin came in for Michael Bradley, Davis came in for Jermaine Jones, and Josie Alidor for Clint Dempsey. The 02 squad, Eddie Lewis for DeMarcus Beasley, Colby Jones for John O'Brien, and Josh Wolf for Brian McBride, but he got a yellow card. The 1930 squad beat the 98 squad 2-1. There was an own goal, 2 goals, Fleury and McGee scoring for the 1930 squad. And the 2010 squad beat the 34 squad 4-0. Clint Dempsey with a pair, Michael Bradley with a goal, and Landon Donovan with a goal himself. In round two, the 2010 squad won 2-0. Findlay and Buttle scoring goals. Fleury got red carded. The 34 squad easily went down. The 34 squad, the one game knockout thing, and the 2010 squad, congratulations. The 1930 squad won 2-0, pair goals by Brown. The 98 squad, who were 3 and out, could not do anything in the whole thing, too. And the 2014 Americans beat the 2002 squad. Green scoring for McBride. Oh, wait, which Green? That's Julian Green. And because they scored more road goals, the away goals rule is 2014 beats 2002. 2002 actually got to the quarterfinals, shockingly losing. Brian McBride scored a goal, but they had to have won on 1-1 tie. So the draw, 1950 versus 1994, that's acceptable. 2014 versus 1930, that's acceptable. 2006 versus 2010, that is definitely not acceptable. I'm going to swap 50 and 06 because that's 12 years, that's acceptable. And 90 versus 2022. So the 2016 takes on the 94 team, the 2014 team takes on 1930, 1950 versus 2010, and 1990 versus 2022. All right, so how does the quarterfinals go? The 50 squad wins 3-0. Maka, Parini, and Wallace going DB2. 30 and 14 no score. Any highlights? No. Fuck you. The 1950 Americans winning 2-1. Maka and Gations. What's going on? Okay, what's going on? Someone's quarterfinal just got wiped out. What just happened? Well, the 22 squad won 4-1. Waya Pasalic, Christian Pasalic with a hat trick. Murray for the 90 squad. What the hell happened? Did it hiccup? Yeah, there was a hiccup. Fuck. I clicked on report. I was just looking at stuff and then. Huh. That is one fucked up thing. Ah. The essence of live TV. The 2006 squad won. In both 1950 and 2006 technically won. 2 goals by Dempsey over Gations, and then the 50 squad won too. The 30 squad was 2014, 2-0 Florian Padadut. The 2014 squad that had 3 straight ties and then finally lost. They were 1-2-1. They lost in the round of 16 to Belgium. And the 22 squad crushing the 90 squad, who were 3 and out quickly. Only 2 goals. Bruce Murray with those goals. Pasalic with a hat trick and George Weah. So it's 06. Okay, 06, 22, 50, and 30. Okay, so it's old versus new. Okay, whatever. Whatever, we'll let it roll. Pair of 2-2s. Pasalic scoring 2 for the 22s. Dempsey and then an own goal to make it 2-2. Patton 2 goals for the 1930 squad, 2 goals for the 50 squad, Perini and Wallace. And in the end, the 22 squad wins 3-0. Wright, Musa, and Weah scoring those goals. And the 50 Americans could only score 1 goal on the road, so the 1930 team wins on away goals. So our championship game is the 1930 Americans taking on the 2022 Americans. So it's funny, the oldest team on the classic soccer thing is the newest team. 2022, they lost in round 16 to Holland. They beat the 1990 squad 8-2. They got to the quarterfinal automatically, and then they lost to the 06 squad. Percentage of 8 goals. Yeah, okay, yeah, there's a lot of problems. Percentage of 8 goals. Yeah, the 06 squad. Why did they have them? Yeah, the 06 squad and the 1930 squad. Huh. So yeah, it's a bit buggy. 1930 Americans were 2-1. Well, they lost in the semifinals. Yeah, they did it. Okay, whatever. So yeah, the 22 squad takes on the 1930 squad. Um. All right. Well, I'll set it up at AI control. Match. The 1930 squad has to be in blue. 22 team in white. Anyway, 4-2 blue versus 2-5. So for the back blue, 4-3 trying to strike through the 22 squad, 2-5 by 2 at the back, 2 in the middle, and 5 forwards. Trny and Douglas are goalies, Americans. Robinson, Zimmerman, Beam, and Dessler are your back 4 for the 2020. McKinney, Adams, and Musa are your middles, and then Sergeant Pasalic and Weah will try to strike out. For the Americans, Wood and Morehouse backwards, Gallagher, Tracy, Brown, the halves, and then Gonzalez, Fleury, Patuni, G, E, and Cole will try to do their jobs. So we're going to auto tune. Mark Predator, and he's hurt. In the first 40 seconds, the 1930 Americans have lost their best striker. So Mike Bookie will have to come into the game. They'll keep the 2-3-5. shots with 5 on target, 11 fouls, 1 yellow card, 6 corners, and 50%. For the 1930 squad, 13 shots with 4 on target, 9 fouls, 2 yellow cards, grounding unsolved, 4 corners, and 50%. Dust, Morris, Sargent, and Aronson and Reyna. Reyna was unused, so I don't know why. 1930 squad's couple unused, and prior to injured himself in the first minute. They got fouling that layup. So, that was amusing. Arizona ran the lane for the pitch and scored. The 2022 Americans won the title. Although I kind of have to say something's fishy. So it was supposed to be 14, 10, and 30. Yeah, the 2010 one. Yeah, 2010 mysteriously disappeared. Yeah, they mysteriously disappeared. It was like creepy. And the 06 squad passed on it, even though they went on. Yeah, the 06 squad passed on. Why? I don't get it. Yeah, it was buggy. Very buggy. And the 2022 Americans win this thing. Strange things have happened. Really. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm Jeff Diamond.